As the world mourns with France, we bring you a special edition of our show. We brought together our panelists and several consultants to help you attempt to help understand what we are facing and what you can do to keep safe. 129 massacred, 352 injured. Terrorists carried out, of course, a series of attacks. Take a look at this.
Here, the site of two of the restaurant massacres just behind me.
Police say gunmen armed with AK-47 style weapons stormed at least two restaurants and opened fire, killing multiple people. Explosions rocked a stadium during an international soccer match. Gunmen took dozens of people hostage in a concert hall.
It's the moment the concert hall killers opened fire.
We heard this bang, 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 and like everybody else, we thought it was fireworks. I felt something go past my ear. I don't know, was it a bullet or something? I don't know what it was. Everybody threw themselves on the ground.
They are, in fact, psychopathic monsters.
Joining me, Tyler Cohen-Wood, cybersecurity advisor for Inspired e-learning and former intelligence officer with the Department of Defense. Judy Ho, clinical psychologist, professor at Pepperdine University. Shagun Odu-Olowu, entertainment journalist. Evie Pompouras, former special agent, Secret Service and security expert. Lisa Bloom, civil rights lawyer at the Bloom firm, legal analyst for Avo.com, and Ernie White, civil rights advocate. Evie, as usual, we go to you in times like this. I got to say, I'm getting tired of it, not because we don't love you, but because it's always under these extraordinary circumstances. What do we do now?
Well, you know, Dr. Drew, I mean, this is really our reality. It's not that there's nothing to do, but this is just where we're at. And I think the population doesn't really understand that these terrorist attacks, these plots have been ongoing for quite some time. I'll give you an example. Just in New York City alone, the Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Terrorism said that in the past few years that they've actually intercepted about 20 terrorist plots. So this is just where we have to, as Americans, understand this. And this is, let me just say this is not a once-off. What happened in Paris. Already intelligence officials are coming out saying that they do suspect additional plots, not just in Paris, but in other areas. And specifically, ISIS has already targeted and made a video saying that they're planning on targeting Washington, D.C.
And Lisa, let me bring you in right now on this. You and I were talking before the show about how to assess our risk.
Mm-hmm. Right. We have to be careful not to act out of fear. It's like making bad decisions when you're drunk. What happened in Paris was horrific, and we've seen the images over and over again. But when we actually look at the data, what we know is that homegrown, non-Muslim terrorists twice as often have killed people in the U.S. since 9/11. I'm talking about in South Carolina, the bombing of the church, or the shooting in the church where 9 African Americans were killed, for example. Sikh temple, a lot of people killed. So it's generally right-wing terrorists in the United States who pose more of a threat. We're so afraid of Muslim terrorists, and people are already talking about keep the Muslims out, which is so un-American and, in my opinion, unconstitutional. And I just think we have to be logical and rational when we talk about what the risks are.
Ernie, too logical?
That's very too logical. Right now, you know, President Obama today said we need to allow 200,000 more Syrians into this country. Right now, we need to stop it. We need to protect America now.
Listen, Ernie, with all due respect, I always feel that anybody of color should be for inclusion, and I'm never for exclusion. What I am for is common sense, and we need better screening policies. Like, we are a country that is a melting pot. We have said, look at us, we are a city upon a hill. We are what people aspire to be. We do not close our borders because Paris got bombed. What we need to do, Dr. Drew, is just be more diligent with the way we screen and scrutinize. I mean, we used to do this in Ellis Island. When
my understanding is
it's
not possible to do it given with the access to false IDs these days.
Yeah, you can't screen. We're not even screening ourselves. We don't even have a website for the health care to work. We cannot screen 200,000 new refugees.
Is that
we are at war.
Ernie,
we are at war right now in Afghanistan still. We're still at war.
Wait, are we at war in Afghanistan?
We're at war with
Mexico?
Islamic
Who do we
terrorists.
keep out, Ernie? Because do we keep out
Obama
if one Mexican person kills somebody in America? Do we then build a wall and keep them out?
Obama
because
can't
I'm
say
Nigerian
it, but I
American.
will
Would
say
it keep me and my parents
We
out?
are at war
I'm just
with
curious.
Islamic terrorists.
Yes, and so are
And
the
we
Syrian
have to
refugees who are the victims of ISIS.
Thank you.
Syria.
Thank you.
That's why they are refugees. And Ernie,
we are not
here's the
going-
point.
but we are not
If
going to
you-
allow-
If you
we're not
broad
gonna allow
brush
the
an
Amer-
entire group because of the bad actions of a few, that is the very definition of bias, bigotry, and racism.
I care about the American people first. Before we can protect the Syrians, we have to protect Americans.
Yeah.
We've already gone through 9/11. We're not going to do that again. We need to protect
Give
ourselves.
me my camera back here, guys. All right, here's the deal. Evie, look what you started here, my dear. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify a couple of things with regard to the screening process. And just from a factual standpoint, you cannot screen for this. You just can't. When you screen people, you run their names against terrorist watch lists to see if they're wanted anywhere. But the concern is that a lot of these individuals are not on watch lists. So there's no way to know. And there's also no way to know what's in the mind and heart of a person. The other thing is we put a huge responsibility on law enforcement. We think that law enforcement can stop every single attack. And they cannot. There is going to be an attack that's going to slip through. We saw it on 9/11. We see it in Paris. We've seen it in other areas. They can't possibly catch everybody. So this idea of doing a mass surveillance is very overwhelming on law enforcement.
Well, let me go to Tyler and say, is there something we can do in online security?
Absolutely. So, and if we're talking about just terrorism, I'm also talking about school shootings. If we start to notice that someone who is in our social media thread starts to change their persona and there's red flags in what they're saying, we need to take notice and we need to do something about that.
Okay, what are the red flags and what are the red flags and where do we report it?
So red flags are all of a sudden they talk about darkness and gloom and doom, or their personality is completely changed. They suddenly are a militant type of group, or they even say, I have a manifesto, I'm going to do this. And you have to report that to the authorities.
Who is whom? FBI?
FBI, if it's a potential school, you could contact your local law enforcement.
Evie, you're raising your hand. FBI?
You know what, this is the thing, and I understand what she's saying. The issue is, what about those individuals where there are no red flags? Because if I'm looking to carry out a terrorist attack, I'm not going to put it on Facebook. I'm not going to put it out there. So we're not worried about those people that are making it known. What about those people that
now
we don't know?
Now we're hearing that they're encrypting it and they're on
Right.
PlayStation and doing all this crazy stuff. Judy, I'm so freaked out. I want to pack a gun. It's what's wrong with me.
They know, Dr.
Well, no, I know, but
Come on,
I'm not
Dr.
going to. I'm saying I want to. My point is, what's wrong with me? What has this done to us?
There's nothing wrong with you. We're always more hypervigilant after a big event like this. Yes. Everyone's going to be on their tippy toes, figuring out what's going on and scrutinizing the environment around them. But we have to be careful not to jump to too many conclusions. There are professionals who are on the job. We as civilians can do the best that we can and not wait for the experiences of other people and reactions of other people. If you do see something concerning, report it right away to somebody so that somebody else can do something about it. But in the meantime, live your life as you would. Don't just start locking up your doors and not going out to restaurants because one of the hits was at a restaurant in Paris. You have to keep living your life or else they've won.
Next threats from the ISIS have the U.S., of course, flipped out on heightened alert. We're talking about how to keep safe. Evie gets into some specifics when we come back. Stay with us.